To the cloud. My name is Roland Mumford with Mumford.law. Today I have the opportunity to interview somebody that maybe have a case, a civil rights lawsuit in Arkansas for retaliatory arrest. And why don't you introduce yourself, Mr. Moore?
I'm Jack Moore from McCrae, Arkansas.
And Mr. Moore, how did you learn about me?
I actually watched one of your videos earlier today where you're talking about civil rights violations, and I did a search on Google Maps and for Mumford Law, and I eventually tracked you down, and that's how I left you a message earlier.
Well, when I spoke with you on the phone, and I've been getting calls from all over the country from people that are wanting to speak with me, if I can refer them to Section 1983 lawyers. And you told me about your case, and it was very similar to a case that I have in Georgia where I represent a small YouTuber who was reporting on alleged misconduct by police officers. And then he was subjected to a false arrest, and we ended up filing a First Amendment and Fourth Amendment lawsuit for him. And when you called me, I spoke with you, and I thought, well, wouldn't this be an interesting video to do in an interview format where I'm speaking to you as an attorney with a YouTube channel that I'm trying to grow. And I thought this might be something interesting for the audience. Now, I want to make sure that we're clear. There's no attorney-client relationship as of today between you and I. There's no retainer agreement. You have not paid me or anything like that. Is that correct?
That is correct, Mr.
All
Moore.
right. And you consent to publishing this on YouTube. Is that correct?
Yes, I do. I would only ask that you tag my YouTube channel as well, because it's growing exponentially right now, and I would like to grow that channel as well to get the word out about what's going on.
Absolutely. Well, you'll have a copy of the file and you can post it on there. And so one of the things, why don't we start off with, before we play the video that sort of started all this, give me just a little bit of a background on your YouTube channel, and then how you got to the position of why you yanked out that phone and recorded that gentleman on what you allege to be city-owned lawnmower or a zero-turn mower. And I think you're alleging that he was on taxpayer time cutting his yard and possibly another public servant's yard. Is that what it is you're alleging?
Well, I arrived home one afternoon just after 1 o'clock because I had gotten off early that day, which is a rarity for me. Upon arriving home, I saw the head of our water department, Charles Bryant, mowing his yard on what appeared to be a city mower. And it was definitely during city business hours, as he was wearing a work uniform. Now, I took the stuff that I had in the house and came back out. And by that time, he had finished mowing his yard and started mowing Miss Billy's yard, which is our court clerk. And she lives directly across the street from him. Now, as I assumed that's a city mower, and I knew he was on city time, I uploaded the video with a little bit of my commentary, which was actually at the end of March in 2024, just over a year ago.
All right. So why don't we go check out that video that you're referring to, and give me just a moment to find that. Now, let's give me just one moment. Let's want to click out of some of this. And let's share the screen here. Now, is this your YouTube channel, RiverCat Speaks?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how long have you had a YouTube channel?
Oh, for I want to say about 6 years now.
All right. And is it one video that was the subject that you took that was the subject of all this?
Actually, that's the video that started everything. When I reported what happened up there, the city at first told me that he was not on a city mower. Then they told me that he was not on the clock when this happened. And they made all kinds of excuses, but they didn't give a valid reason, as all the city time cards are handwritten. There is no punch in or punch out with our city like your typical employee. So it is quite easy to fake or misdocument time with those city time cards because they're just handwritten notes is all they are. And up until I started asking for time cards from the city, they could not even provide them when I initially asked.
All right. Now, I want to make sure that as a YouTube channel, as an attorney, I have absolutely no knowledge of these alleged, these allegations. And by no means is our channel representing whether these are true or not. These are issues of fact that may need to be resolved in the criminal case against you. But I'm curious to ask, has this gentleman ever sent you a letter and accused you of defamation or libel or slander?
No, sir, not at all. He made some comments about my wife that was dying of cancer back before this ever took place. He made some comments about my wife,
All
and
right.
we had words over that, but that's irrelevant to this.
All right.
There was no
Let's
physical violence in the
sure. Let's share it. Let's play the video so the audience can see what started all this.
Okay, guys, I don't know how well y'all can see that. Mower going back and forth. That's a city employee on a city mower. Mowing another city employee's yard. Using city equipment. Getting paid by the city. How ironic is this? I mean, it's gotta pay to work in the city of McCrae, Arkansas. And I will let die. I can't even imagine. Can y'all?
And something I want to clarify for here, you're on your property here, correct?
Yes, sir. I was actually standing up at the head of my wheelchair ramp when I recorded this video.
So you're on your property, and this gentleman that's on this zero-turn mower, he's out in public where there's no reasonable expectation of privacy, correct?
That is correct, sir.
And is he on his property?
Actually, the video where he's mowing right there is Miss Billy's property. That is the court clerk that lives directly across the street from him.
All right, let's play it. We'll finish playing the video. And I want to ask another question. Who owns this zero-turn mower per your knowledge?
I still believe that was a city-owned mower. They told me that it actually belongs to a police officer that used to work for the city. But to me, that looked identical to the same city mower that they're using all the time.
Okay.
What the hell, guys? And, you know, they want to complain about me exposing corruption here. Guys, come on. I mean, it don't get no worse. Think about it. I mean, if they're gonna do that for the city, all the city employees, aren't they gonna do it for everybody? He just mowed his street or his yard right across the street from there.
When did you film this video?
That was at the end of March in 2024.
Okay. And that's going to be important. We're going to get into that here in a few minutes.
I will say end of March, for the very first few days of April.
Anyway, guys, they wonder why the citizens here are fed up with the BS out of the city. If this don't explain it, nothing does. I mean, come on, the water guy just mowed his yard across the street there. Come over and mows Miss Billy's. Right across the street. What y'all wanna bet that we're paying for that lawnmower? We're paying for the gas in it. We're paying for the guy's butt to sit in it and mow. I mean, come on. Everybody around here knows what happens to that little shit right out back, so.
What does that mean when you say we know what happens, something about a shed? I think that's the second or third time you said that.
Well, Miss Billy has an estranged son, Michael Dale Robertson, which is currently, if I'm not mistaken, sitting in White County Jail. He was on parole, and he was currently sitting in White County Jail for possession of a small explosive device that I was told by two different people that my house was going to be the subject of that explosive device.
All right.
And there's a shed out back, which it kind of looks like a little house. But there's more traffic in and out of that shed than the neighborhood 7-Eleven.
Okay. All right. We'll leave it at that.
Post this up here in a bit.
All right. So that is what started everything. And
Yes, sir.
then that's about March of 2024. And did you ever have any communication from the subject of this person that's on the lawnmower or the city of McCrae? Is that correct? The city of McCrae, Arkansas?
I called the city to complain.
Well, no,
about
hold on. No. What I'm asking is from the date that you made that recording, or let's say you filmed it in the end of March, correct?
Right.
And then when did you publish it?
I published it, I want to say the next day is when it actually uploaded. It took a while due to my slow connection.
Okay. And so from, let's say, April through December of 2024, did you ever hear from anybody having any issue about that video being posted?
The only thing that I had back was the mayor, members of City Hall, and the chief of police up there denying that that was city equipment or that he was on city time and getting paid for it.
Okay.
But I did not really have any contact with Charles Bryant whatsoever.
And Charles Bryant, that's the person on the mower I may have already asked?
Yes, sir. That's the head of our water department in McCrae, Arkansas.
All right. And did he ever send you a letter accusing you of slander or libel or say that, hey, you're lying about him and ask you to take the video down?
No, sir.
Okay. All right.
Now, I did attend a city hall meeting after that to record what was going on. I believe the title to that video is More Examples of Corruption in McCrae. Now, I had my phone facing the wrong way, so it did not get good video of that, but the entire audio file is there where I was threatened by the mayor of McRae, Joel Pruitt, which said he would catch me out later. He couldn't talk to me. And I told him, I said, Joel, you can talk to me right now. And he screamed, I can't talk to stupid. I was also threatened by two other city council members. One of them simply for videotaping. He threatened me and threatened my equipment. And then another fellow threatened me while I was there. And then I was accosted or assaulted by a member of the public from there, which the city would never identify, never help me identify.
Now, did you make attempts to submit open records requests to get public records about anything relating to the subject matter of that video to validate these allegations that you're making?
I had a FOIA request in previously for some city records from the time while I was away at work. I wanted to check out what was going on in the city. I requested I did a formal FOIA request for like city minutes and things like that. I have the paper here somewhere.
It's fine, sir. Just share us your narrative. That's fine.
The city wanted to charge me over $1,000 for my public records request. I refused to pay such an exorbitant fee for what are public documents.
Okay. And now let me stop you there. Now you posted a video between you and a clerk where you went in to, I guess, the city hall or something. Is that correct?
I've posted a lot of videos of most of all of my reactions going to City Hall because they accuse me of being belligerent and abusive to the staff, and I never am.
All right. So there's one video I wanted to ask you about that I watched, and give me 1 second here. Let's see here. We'll share the screen here. We'll go back to your channel. Which of these videos, the one that I found here was, looks like you post a lot of videos. And there was this video here of May 1st, 2025. Is this where you go in? Are you asking for public records and related to this incident about the mower?
If you'll play the video where I can see it in a little bit larger context, I can answer that question.
Okay, guys, I got the camera zoomed way out, like 0.5, so we can see everything. Notice the mayor ain't here. You know, he used to hang out up here at City Hall all day. Where to be found today. I believe you have a whole list of FOIA information for me, including some court rules, etc.
Now, I believe this is where you come in. Are you asking for records, correct?
Yes, sir. I'm asking for court records, orders from the judge, which close our court, etc., because there are a whole list of court rules posted outside. And as per Arkansas law, court rules like that must be signed by the judge.
Okay.
Now, they have never provided anything like that.
Yeah. Well, what I'm trying to get to is I wanted to speak with you about where do you go in making public records requests for any information about the mower?
I never made a public information request about the information for the mower. I have made other public information requests or other FOIA requests, which I was denied illegally for over 2 years. I had to pay $150 on that original FOIA request, which they wanted to charge me over $1,000 for, before they would honor any of my FOIA requests. And that is documented to be done by Donald Rainey, which is our city prosecutor. He was acting outside of his scope of position. That should have been handled by the city attorney.
All right. So let's just get to, I want to clarify did you ask for his time cards, time sheets, any other documents to show whether he was mowing that yard or whether that was in fact city equipment?
Yes, sir. I did ask for time cards, but at that time, and still to this date, McCrae does not have a clock in, clock out system. They have handwritten time card notes or notes for time cards. But before that happened, they were not even keeping those records on a daily basis. They were simply writing in time for the employees for the week.
All right. So now let's, so from the period that you posted that video through April 4th, 2025, did you ever hear from law enforcement about any charge, any allegation or anything?
No, sir, not at all.
All right. Now I'm sharing this document on the screen, and this appears to be a warrant for your arrest. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And this looks like this was a warrant for arrest that was issued on April 4th, 2025. And tell me everything about this.
Well, According to the original affidavit, memory serves me correctly, it was filed on April the 10th of 2024. As you said, the date that the warrant was issued was, I believe, April the 5th of 2025. Now, I
Looks
was
like there's a
preparing.
signature. The judge signed it on April 7th, 2025.
Yeah, April 7th, right here. April 7th, 2025, they signed this warrant for me. Now, I had been in contact with City Hall because I had other FOIA requests which were being fulfilled. And I go to City Hall quite often to get FOIA requests and that type of thing. The city knew that I would be up there on a Friday to pick up all the records requests that I had. And they also knew that I had doctor's appointments with my mother, which I was providing care for in Little Rock. Now, the morning they arrested me, I was out there trying to get a flat change so I could get her to an appointment in Little Rock. Two probation officers had pulled up regarding Miss Loretta Horn, which she was being paroled from the Arkansas Department of Corrections. And I had given permission for her to be paroled out to my residence. Now, while I was out there changing a tire, two probation officers pulled up to talk to me. While they're talking to me, they approved Loretta's request to stay there verbally. Then Dakota pulled up and he told me he had a warrant for my arrest and they carted me to jail. He did not ever provide me the warrant. I asked him if he had a warrant, and yep, but he failed to provide it to me. They carted me to jail on $1,000 cash bond for the video that I had posted, which to me was ludicrous, but I bonded out of jail, missed my mother's doctor's appointment, which was critical because I am currently trying to get her into a long-term care facility.
All right. So let me share this document with you. I'm going to put it back up on the screen. So you've been charged with harassing communications. There's an affidavit. We'll put it on the screen, April 4th, 2025. That's the case number. And you've been charged with harassing communications. So I did a little bit of research this afternoon and wanted to talk with you about that charge. So let's look at the statute. So this is Arkansas Code, harassing communications, and it's section 5-71-209.
Yep.
And let's look at the statute. Now, it says, as used in this section, an electronic device, and defines what an electronic device could be that connects to the internet or used in electronic transmission or communication or information. Now, section B, a person commits the offense of harassing communications if, number one, with the purpose to harass, annoy, or alarm another person. And then it goes through A, B, C, D, and E and talks about the various manners of which the communication could have been communicated. But now number one says you communicate with a person. You never communicated directly with this Mr. Bryan. Is that correct?
No, sir, I did not. I called the mayor, City Hall, and the police chief.
Okay.
and
All right.
reported
Section
what I saw.
B. Did you ever make a telephone call to him?
No, sir.
And did you knowingly permit a telephone or electronic device under your control to be used for the purpose of to intentionally harass, annoy, or an alarm another person, or was this for the purpose of sharing a matter of public concern?
This was strictly for a matter of sharing a matter of public concern.
All right. And the statute goes on and talking about very specifics if you make 2 or more phone calls. And then it gets into with the purpose to frighten, intimidate, or distress emotionally another person. Again, it gets into the issue of how you communicate with someone. Now, normally this statute is going to deal with communicating with somebody directly. Now, obviously you didn't do that. And so I did a little bit of research and wanted to kind of just to talk about, and I use some Lexis here, And one of the things that we want to look at here is recording a person with a video camera and publishing it could potentially violate Arkansas's Harassing Communications Statute if the act is done with the purpose to annoy, harass, alarm, frighten, intimidate, or emotionally distress the person, and if the manner of communication is likely to cause such effect. Now, you have absolutely denied that. And it came up that it may be possible that the publication of such a video could fall under this statute. I'm still not quite convinced of that. But this is what this is mainly about. Filming another person on another property from your own property may be protected under the First Amendment. But the protection depends on the context and purpose of the filming. Courts have recognized that the act of recording can be a form of expression protected by the First Amendment if it is part of the speech process, such as gathering information for dissemination to the public or addressing matters of public concern. And it's cited a couple of cases. You're in Arkansas in the 8th Circuit. And I don't understand how in any way you being on your property and filming somebody across the street where there's no reasonable expectation of privacy, and clearly in the video you're discussing what I would believe is a matter of public concern, being the issue of, is this government equipment? Is this person on taxpayer time? Is a public servant, someone else, receiving the benefit of the services of a public employee? That is absolutely a matter of public concern. And again, we're not, I as an attorney in the YouTube channel am not alleging whether this is true or not. The purpose that I believe that is of concern is your arrest for publishing a video that is clearly calling out what you allege to be issues of misconduct or taxpayer dollars or how they're being spent. And then you're being arrested a year later after you're communicating with the city, making public records requests, going to clerks asking for documents, and as you say, being subjected to allegedly $1,000 for public records requests. That is absolutely insane. I do public records requests every day, and for something to justify $1,000, it would have to be 10 phone books. So right. Now another paragraph here. However, if the protection is not absolute, if the recording lacks an expressive purpose or is purely private and non-communicative, it may not qualify for First Amendment protection. And then it cites a couple of cases. So in the 8th Circuit, the context and intent behind the recording are critical in determining whether it is protected by the First Amendment. If the filming is conducted for expressive purposes, such as news gathering or addressing public issues, it is more likely to be protected. Conversely, if the filming is purely private or violates other legal rights, such as privacy or property rights, it may not have First Amendment protection. I think that that last paragraph deals with a fact pattern where somebody is being recorded, where there may or may not be where there may be some gray area where is there a reasonable expectation of privacy? And absolutely nobody filming somebody out in public, outside, can in any way be deemed as a reasonable expectation of privacy. That is absolutely recording in public. So, and I think obviously addressing the issues that you bring up are certainly matters of public concern. So what is the situation with your criminal court charges now?
Well, the city has pressed 4 more charges against me for harassment of city employees due to the fact that I go up there and make public records requests, etc. I believe that my YouTube channel certainly qualifies under the freedom of press because I did not start my YouTube channel as an auditor. My YouTube channel history goes way back. I used to fish a lot of catfish tournaments. If you go far enough back, you will discover where I was talking about how Bass Pro Shops at Memphis basically used the Mississippi River Monsters event and took huge catfish, which were caught during the event, and stocked their tanks with them. I have also uncovered an illegal dam, bridge, and water control structure on the Lower Desert Bayou, which I posted a video of, which apparently the EPA is looking at that right now. But because that was done by a land developer in Arkansas, which has a lot of money, I really don't think they're going to do anything about that. But my channel, I expose all kinds of things that I think that are wrong that I see, and I talk about. I thought that was explicitly protected under freedom of speech and freedom of press. Uh,
Well, let
Furthermore,
me share in that I know you bring up you use the term freedom of the press. And oftentimes when we see in these videos online, uh, we see citizen journalists. So we see other YouTube channels where people have full-time jobs and they go out and they like to, act as auditors or and so forth. But regardless of whether it's freedom of the press, whether what is news media? And then today, really anybody with a camera, anybody with an ability to transmit information is a member of the press. And because oftentimes you see in these videos, you'll have a court clerk or some government official say, well, where's your press credentials? Well, who is it that determines what a press credential is? I mean, under that logic, somebody with a TV camera that went into a time machine and goes back 200 years, only somebody with a printing press then would be considered news media. So, I've never understood that argument. Anybody that can express information about a matter of public concern in any way, whatever the form of that dissemination may be, through whatever media outlet, computer, Zoom, YouTube, holding a sign on the side of the road, whatever it may be, that is freedom of the press. We're all citizen journalists in a sense. And so, do you have any intentions of? Are you contesting these charges?
oh yes, sir, I'm definitely contesting these charges because McCrae Court is not a court of record. They do not allow the public to attend the court,
Sure.
which to me is a violation. Uh, any, sir, just being honest, I am 100% sure that McRae will find me guilty if I hired the best defense attorney in the world. However, just like my brother's case, which was a freedom of speech issue where they found him guilty in Bald Knob, when he appealed that to Searcy, they found him innocent of all charges. Searcy is a court of record, Judge Pate's court. No matter what they do here in McRae, Arkansas, no matter if they convict me, I will be appealing everything to a higher court of record.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to wrap this up, but I wanted to say, what if you have anything that you want to share with the audience? Is there any last few words and what you want to share about this experience? Because there's thousands of other people that are going through what you're going through. And what is your goal of sharing this interview online?
My goal of sharing this, my goal has always simply to get the city to do the right thing and become compliant with the law, not only in the actions of their officers, but also overall. Our city has failed to meet the record keeping requirements for FOIA. They have failed to record all public meetings. They have taken meetings into executive session in violation of the law in Arkansas, which states that executive session can only take place in hiring issues. Those must be revealed to the people before they go into executive session. That has failed to be done in Arkansas, in White County. Also, furthermore, the case where I testified in Bald Knob, where my little brother had the freedom of speech issues and they charged him, the prosecuting attorney got very belligerent with me in the court at Bald Knob after the trial. Now, the presentation, I believe, of the original affidavit to the judge to be signed, I believe is a Brady violation because the prosecutor obviously knew that who the head of the McRae Water Department was. He knew it was Charles Bryant, and he knew it was a city employee. I believe there are Brady violations here. I believe the presentation or the signature of that judge on that warrant for my arrest is actually a violation of Title 18, Section 242 of United States Code, which is deprivation of rights under color of law.
But let me stop you
Further,
right there. Let me stop you right there because I'm glad you said that because it's a perfect segue that I want to share right now that I thought I could add. I'm going to share the screen, and this is a case that I have in Georgia representing another small YouTuber. This is the Bennett versus the city of Adrian, Georgia. I don't want to talk about the case any more specifically, but I do want to share this on the screen. This is what a count for First Amendment retaliation would state. This, so if somebody wanted to represent themselves and they didn't have a lawyer, they could use this language. So here we got count 1, First Amendment retaliation in violation of the First Amendment, USC 1983. Now that's what you brought up. That's why I kind of interjected there. I thought it was a segue. And, you know, here that we state, the First Amendment protects individual rights to protect free speech, including criticism and objections towards police misconduct. Now, obviously, that could be misconduct by government officials in any context. It's not just police. It is clearly established that a person has a right to be free from retaliation for exercising their First Amendment freedoms. The reason why such retaliation offends the Constitution is that it threatens to inhibit the exercise of that protected right. Now, here's some elements. This is an 11th Circuit case, but pretty much the 3 elements are all the same in all the federal court districts. The plaintiff must establish, 1, that the speech was constitutionally protected. Your speech was absolutely constitutionally protected, in my opinion. Then what we have to show is that the defendant's retaliatory conduct adversely affected the protected speech, and there's a causal connection between the retaliatory action and the adverse effect on the speech. So the question would be is, was this arrest motivated by retaliation, and did it have an adverse effect on the protected speech? Well, obviously it did. So
yes,
now here's some other language. Retaliatory conduct adversely affects protected speech if the conduct would likely deter a person of ordinary firmness from the exercise of First Amendment rights. And since all this, it hasn't stopped you from doing what you're standing up for yourself, has it? Now, plaintiffs as persons of ordinary firmness would be deterred from exercising their First Amendment rights after being falsely arrested without arguable probable cause, and such arrest was retaliatory. So let me stop the share there. So I wanted to share that. That's what, and then we have another the Fourth Amendment false arrest section in that complaint. But I want to wrap this up. I really thank you for your time. And you're wanting me to share this on my channel. Is that correct?
yes, sir. If you would share it.
All right.
I'm trying to.
I'm going to give you the last 30 seconds. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
The only thing I want to share is that it was never my intention to take McCrae to court. They left me absolutely no other choice. I took to the city the exact criminal codes and statutes that they were breaking, and they refused to take any action. And instead of taking action, they had me arrested for asking them to do the right thing.
Okay.
This is not the America that I'm used to, brother.
Now, something else I want to bring up is and I believe it's the same in the 8th Circuit as it is in the 11th Circuit, but pretty much generally speaking, here you were not just, they didn't just come and arrest you on the side of the road while you were filming without a warrant. Here they got a warrant and then they came and arrested you. So it is most likely the cause of action that you would have if you filed a civil rights lawsuit would be malicious prosecution. Now you'd have to do a little more research in the 8th Circuit, but I'm pretty sure it's still the same as is in the 11th Circuit. And what that means is if you're, let's say you were filming right there at your house, right? I mean, let's say he's on the lawnmower, he calls, police come, and then they just arrest you and there's no warrant. That would be a Fourth Amendment violation, false arrest, seizure, etc. However, since they went and got a warrant, as soon as there's a warrant, the law says, well, that established probable cause. And now what it is you're attacking the legal process, the system of legal process. And that's what a malicious prosecution case would be. There is some gray area. There is some argument in some case law that can be made that you may still be able to argue a Fourth Amendment violation, even if there was a warrant. Now, you may try to attack it as an invalid warrant, but there's still some case law that says even with an invalid warrant, it's still not a false arrest case under Fourth Amendment. It's a malicious prosecution matter. So, but anyways, I don't want to get too far into the weeds on that, but I did want to bring that up. And the final point that I wanted to bring up is your charges are still pending. And I had told you earlier that when we had spoke, you know, that you want to make sure that you do not plead guilty to any of those charges. You need those all dismissed, because under the Supreme Court case, HECK, that there has to be a favorable outcome in the disposition of the criminal charges for you to file a Section 1983 civil rights case. And because if you plead to a charge, then in essence what that is doing is that plea deal basically you're saying that you're stipulating that there was probable cause for the arrest. And if there's no probable cause, it's a false arrest. But then also here that you're sort of stipulating also that the legal basis was lawful for the prosecution of the charges and that there was no malicious prosecution. And so that's something to consider. But listen, I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And I want to thank everybody in the audience, for the viewers, for the way my channel's been blowing up. I do want to ask that I only represent people in Arkansas, Tennessee, and Georgia. I would respectfully ask, please do not email me asking me to represent you. I'm not admitted in any other states. And I'm admitted to the federal courts in Arkansas, but I'm admitted to Tennessee and Georgia for state courts and federal courts. Now, a lot of people have been calling me and emailing me from all over the country in the last 3 days because that video about how the police harassed me into litigating civil rights cases, that video was blowing up. And I don't know who is a lawyer in Iowa or in Texas to help you. So there is a group, and I think it's called the National Police Accountability Project, and I may be reversing those words, but I'm going to post a link to that organization's online directory of Section 1983 civil rights lawyers all over the country. I'm going to put that in the description, and I'm going to put it into the first comment. So instead of reaching out to me asking for a referral, I respectfully ask, please go to the description section and go to the first comment link and look for an attorney there. I very much appreciate your time. Also, I'm trying to find my voice. I'm new to YouTube. I'm figuring all this out. And if you have a case similar to Mr. Moore's here that you want to have a video about, I'm thinking about doing this interview style format because I really enjoy being unscripted. I enjoy the back and forth instead of necessarily talking directly into a camera. It's just a lot more engaging. It's a lot more freewheeling and so forth. And send me a message through my contact form on mumford.law if you'd be interested in me doing a similar interview format. And if you've got body cam video we can look at, and doing an attorney reaction legal analysis. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Mumford.
Hold on. Stay online.
Okay.